Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Yeah, you are.
Woohoo! I sure am.
Dave wasn't here to say it this week.
I know.
Unfortunately, Dave's a little under the weather this week, and we're hoping he feels better soon. So it's just going to be the two of us this week, and we have two movies to talk about. Before I get to those, I just want to say that over on our Patreon this week, we talked about Patron's Choice. We talked about the 1990 film Dick Tracy, and we had a lively discussion about that movie.
Yeah, we did.
And so if you join our Patreon, you get access to exclusive audio every week. And, we talk about movies that our patrons select. We also talk about movies that we pick, and mostly older films that we haven't seen before and we want to revisit. And in this case, one of us revisiting, another one of us seeing Dick Tracy for the first time. And so that was a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, you go to patreon.com/spoilerpiece. And sign up there, and you also get access to about 200 plus bonus episodes on top of the 400 plus episodes of the main show. So there's a lot of good content there. You'll definitely get your spoiler piece fixed.
Yes.
So on this week's show, we have two movies we're talking about, as I mentioned. The first one we're going to talk about in a minute is the Netflix film Do Revenge, and we are also going to be talking about the Claire Denis film Stars at Noon, a romance thriller drama kind of movie. But first, let's talk about Do Revenge. So this is written and directed by Jennifer Caton Robinson and co-written by Celeste Ballard. It stars Camila Mendes, Maya Hawke, and who's our villain? Austin Abrams plays our villain in this movie. And so we've got a one-sentence IMDb summary, and we're definitely going to have to expand on this. So the one sentence is Drea and Eleanor agree to go after one another's bullies. So yeah,
I mean, yes, but
yes,
yes,
turns
but.
out to be a lot. Turns out to be a lot more complicated than that, and we'll dig into that in a minute. But yeah, Drea goes to a kind of hotsy-totsy private school. This takes place in Miami. She's a star student. She's she's in Teen Vogue, and she's getting all these accolades. In the beginning of the movie, her friends are throwing her this rager of a party to celebrate her and her accomplishments. She's a working class kid going to the school on scholarship, and she's going out with this guy Max, and he asks her before this summer, right? About to go on summer vacation, and he asks her to make a racy video for him, and then he immediately leaks it to everybody in the school, and she understandably is very pissed and punches him in the face. And then there's this whole thing where everyone's oh, well, you shouldn't have done that, and she gets in trouble for it at school and for punching him, and then all her friends are oh, this is too weird, I guess we should all take the summer off from being friends with you. And so her whole world just kind of crumbles. And then while she's at tennis camp, she meets Eleanor, who's played by Maya Hawke. And, Eleanor is very friendly and just kind of fuck those dude, just fuck all those other people. Let's be friends. And then she tells a story about how, she was wronged by, what's this character's name? Carissa. This girl Carissa, who went to camp with her growing up, and now she's going to go to the same private school, Rose Hill, as Drea, and so they should hang out when we get there. And then that's when the first day of school, they hatched this plan to get revenge.
Yeah, or possibly even before school, but yes.
Yeah, and then so Eleanor's going to infiltrate the cool crowd and all of Drea's former friends, and she's going to take down Max, and Drea is going to help take down Carissa for Eleanor. And so that's the kind of major thing that sets things in motion. I mean, there's some twists that we can talk about in a minute as we dig more into the movie. But do you feel like there's any like kind of essentials we're leaving out, Megan?
I mean, the only, and this isn't an essential plot wise, the only other thing, there's, I guess, a couple things we could say. It's a retelling of Strangers on a Train, and Eleanor is queer. And that was part of the reason why she's really upset about Carissa, kind of screwing her over because she had just come out, and so it was a thing. So yeah, but other than that, no, I think you hit all the major beats.
Nice. So, what did you think of the movie?
It's fine. I think it's fine. So I like Jennifer Caton Robinson's work. I really love, she wrote the screenplay to Unpregnant, which is a very sweet, wacky film about two friends who are going to get, and one of them is going to get an abortion. And so I like her work. And I saw her first film, I think it's Someone Great, with Gina Torres. And I liked that too. And I like that this is set in Miami, and I like that she was born and raised in Miami. So it's definitely, some kind of autobiographical elements, at least in the setting. And I like Camila Mendes. I think she's good in this role. I think she's very interesting because she comes off very self-assured, very confident. She knows what she wants. She doesn't mince words. She doesn't waste time when she needs to fix things. I like that. And I also like the kind of tender moment that she and Eleanor have where she kind of breaks down and is vulnerable. And it's just this really, really sweet moment between them. And I really like that. And I think this works the best when it's focusing on Eleanor and Drea's burgeoning friendship.
Yeah.
That for me was the strongest part of the film. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of Maya Hawke in this. I can't recall seeing her in anything else. I know she's in Stranger Things, but I'm a season behind, so she's not in the season I'm on. So I know people love her from that. I was not a fan of her in this. I think she's very one-dimensional, very one-note, just kind of is very monotone, and it didn't work for me at all. I do like that she is actually a queer person portraying a queer character. I think that that's really cool. And I loved Talia Ryder. I loved her in Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I think she's really great in the small role she has here as Max's sister, who has her and Eleanor kind of have a flirtatious thing going on. And I like that. But yeah, I like elements of this, but I think for me, I know what it's going for, and and it's going for this teen stylized film, and I just wanted more from it. I just wanted it either to be either campier or more stylized or deeper or both. And there are elements of it that kind of remind me of like Some Kind of Wonderful, like the fact that Drea is like running with these rich, popular kids, but she's working class. And then as soon as she breaks up with the boyfriend, then she's left out in the lurch, just very much like Amanda Jones in Some Kind of Wonderful. And I was also reminded of Stella and the Spades, which is such a great film and so sharp about class and private schools. So anyway, I was reminded of other films, but this one I wanted some more. But what about you? What did you think of it?
I enjoyed this quite a bit.
Oh, good.
I think I really dug the stylized elements of it. It's a sun-soaked, candy-coated homage to 90s teen movies. I mean, the main ones that come to mind, I feel like this movie is very heavily paying homage to Clueless, 10 Things I Hate About You. I feel like there's several moments of that. I'm trying to think of some others. I mean, there's needle drops straight from American Pie, which was funny to me, like multiple songs from American Pie, a lot of 90s music. So I enjoyed those elements when it's kind of like paying homage to 90s teen movies. And how could I freaking forget about Cruel Intentions. I mean, this movie
Yes,
is so dripping with cruel intentions.
Oh, I forgot. Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it.
Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar plays the headmaster, and I love that. I think that's my favorite part of this movie. It's so delicious to have her playing the like headmaster in this, who's like, she's the headmaster, but she's also like really likes Drea and is in her corner, which I enjoy. Like, she's the headmaster and she's kind of like, yeah, all right, I got to like do the punishment thing, but like, I see you. Like, I see you've got a lot of potential and you're like gonna go out there and kick ass. And so I dig that kind of like rapport that they have between the two of them, where we see like a few kind of one-on-one meetings between the two of them.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is great in this very small role. She really makes the most of it.
Yeah, she nails it. So I think those are the elements of the movie that I really got on board with. And I like the revenge stuff where they're going after their people, but I didn't love it when it kind of turned into the weird, like, extra revenge part, which I feel like it's appropriate for us to get to now, where we find out that the girl who actually wronged Maya Hawke's character was Drea. Drea, told everyone that Eleanor, or at that time they called her Nosy Nora, and made fun of her. Oh, Nosy Nora pinned me down and tried to kiss me, and so she made her a pariah. And so Eleanor this entire time has been orchestrating a plan to get revenge on Drea and ruin Drea's life, which includes like getting her, rejected from Yale, and this plot where she's gonna, hack her computer and make her go to this, crazy party where no one's supposed to have their phones and record everything and then out everyone's bad behavior. So that's the part of the movie I just was like, it was a weird left turn into like what felt like a single white female-esque, like someone who's been like plotting and is obsessed with her and is like trying to take her down. And that's when the movie, I feel like for me, was not working so well, when it turned into that. But when the movie turned back around to them being friends and them taking down Max together, when they finally like get him on tape saying all the like gross stuff that he is thinking and feeling and doing, but everyone seems to like, forgive or excuse, like he's just such a blatant dick.
Oh, he's a slime.
Yeah, like he, the next year he's like class president and he like does this big apology to Drea about, the video, still being like, I didn't do it, but like, oh, I'm just so sorry. And so I'm starting this like cis men's group to support women. Just so gross. Such a scumbag. And like, even after, he's caught, he's been cheating on his girlfriend, who's like, Drea's former best friend, with all the other girls in school, and they like out him with these texts, and then he like tries to spin it like, oh, we're, ethically non-monogamous, and like people start to believe that. And it's just like, oh, this fucking guy. Can't wait for him to go down.
And boy, does he.
Yeah. Everybody turns on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you though. I think it's that middle part, or not really middle because in the film it's actually later, but yes, that middle part essentially of their friendship is great and the beginning revenge is great and the end revenge is great, but that middle part is not great. Like it is. Single white female, you nailed it by comparing it to that. And you're welcome. And it's just really creepy because Eleanor is like, all teen girls are psychopaths. And I'm like, what? Like this is a film that is supposed to be paying homage to 90s teen films, which are about celebrating teen girls and about celebrating friendships. And there's a way, if you want to show that people are complicated and friendships are complicated, you can do that. And you can do that really well. Like I think of Jennifer's Body, which shows friendship as being really complicated. And there are other films that do it really well too. You can do that here too, but it just doesn't. It like takes a wild left turn and then takes another wild left turn back where they're like, oh, we're over it. We're friends again. Yeah. And it's like, what? And it just feels like when this was being written, it was like, they were like, oh, we need more twists. It's got to be twisty. We got to throw something else in. And then it's like, but no, you really don't. Like it was working. It was already good. So yeah.
Well, another thing that I love, and you know this is well documented, I love when they say the title of the movie in the movie.
I was so glad you brought brought that up because I was thinking about it right before we started recording. And I was like, I cannot believe they say the title of this movie like 3 or 4 times.
Right. Yeah. I mean, early in the movie, they say, let's do revenge. And then there's like debate about the grammatical correctness of saying do revenge. But then I love when it comes back around later in the movie when they make up and they're like, let's do revenge. And they shake on it. I'm like, yes. Hell yes.
You know what's funny about that? It made me laugh because it reminded me of my roommate. And my roommate, he'll say things like, you know, the first time something's kind of funny and then you do it a second time, not funny. Do it a third, not funny. But then you keep doing it enough times, it circles back around and then it's funny again. And that's kind of how I felt watching it. I was like, come on. But then they're saying it so many times, I'm like, okay, now it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And I like they drive off into the sunset almost together in the car, very Cruel Intentions-esque. And then we get their kind of like post-credit, mid-credit scene where they're like, you know, making up with their respective booths. We've got the thoughtful, soulful artist guy who's rich and has his own art warehouse, and she makes up with, you know, Trey makes up with him. And then Eleanor makes up with Max's sister, Gabby, and they have a fun like picnic together. So I liked seeing them have the happy ending, the two of them. That was nice.
I did too.
Yep. The weird like middle part of the movie, I kind of was like,
yeah. I was not a fan of that middle part.
Well, anything else about this movie you wanted to talk about?
The only other thing, it's just a side thing. I'm like, but I like that it's aware of what it's doing, that of the tropes it's hitting. But I do like when Drea's like, makeover. It's like, do we really need this? It's like, of course there's a makeover because there's always a makeover in a teen movie or rom-com or anything of that nature. But yeah, no, I like this. I mean, it's okay. I have conflicted feelings on this. I just wish they'd really focused on their friendship. But I like that they find that they do come back around to their friendship. I do like that.
Yeah, me too. I dug that quite a bit. Now I'm thinking about makeovers in the 90s, and I'm like, all I can think of is there's She's All That, which is like the one that everybody remember. You know, but were there other 90s movies where there were like makeovers involved?
Yeah, Clueless.
Oh, right. Yep. How could I forget about Clueless? Damn. Okay. Yep.
Trying to think if there were others. Yeah. Probably. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, of course. And as a 90s movie fan, this definitely hit the spot in that way. So I was glad to watch it and feel like got all that nice homage in there.
There's so much like 90s. I cannot believe how much 90s music is. I was like, it's like, what? Yeah. But it makes sense because of course that's what it's doing.
Right. I mean, the most surprising of which was the instrumental cover of How Bizarre. I was like, really? We're going deep into the 90s catalog here.
My favorite was Harvey Danger. I was like, damn. I used to like that whole album, and I was like, I haven't listened to it in a very long time. So yeah. Yeah, Harvey Danger. That's a fun one. Yeah, it was that and Celebrity Skin were the two ones that I remember being in the American Pie soundtrack, and those are the ones that I was like, oh, okay, what are we just like just rating American Pie soundtrack now? That is.
I also loved her Bearded Dragon, which was named Oscar winner Olivia Colman.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And I also love that Gabby wants Eleanor to go see a Godard film with her at the party. She's like, I'm going to go watch a Godard film. You want to join me? I was like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, they do have a lot of chemistry. I think there's definitely chemistry between the romantic leads in the movie. Like, and there was also that really funny line where she was talking to, what's his name? Russ? Yeah, and she's like, we had so much chemistry. I was glad I was sitting on a towel.
Oh, yeah. I was like, ooh, damn, a little spicy.
Yeah. All right, well, it seems like we covered all the points for Do Revenge. Are we ready to move on to Stars at Noon?
Yes. Oh, except I just want to say, I think I like the movie a little bit more after talking with you about it, Evan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I might have to watch it again.
I'm happy to hear that. Sometimes I feel like when you talk about a movie it's helpful to like remember the things that you were liking about it, even like if there were other stuff that were kind of like off-putting or like turned you off. It's good to like circle back and remember the things that you were digging about it.
Yeah, because I was like, there definitely were things that were good and enjoyable. Yeah, so yeah.
I mean, the same thing happens otherwise too. There are plenty of times where I come on this show and I'm like, I talk to both of you about a movie and I'm like, yeah, I really did dislike that more than I thought that I did.
Right.
All right. So then let's talk about Stars at Noon, which is written and directed by Claire Denis. It looks like it's co-written by Andrew Litvak, and it's based on a novel by Denis Johnson or Denis Johnson. I don't know if he's French or not. This one sentence IMDb summary is just wrong. Well, I mean, the first part of it's wrong. It says it's in 1984. That is just wrong. This movie is set in present day during the pandemic.
That's correct. The novel was 1986. Maybe that's the confusion. But regardless, that's wrong.
We'll cut off the part in 1984. Let's just say in present day. I'm editorializing now. Present day pandemic times. Nicaragua, we have a mysterious English businessman and a headstrong American journalist, which I'll put heavily in air quotes on the journalist part, strike up a romance as they soon become embroiled in a dangerous labyrinth of lies, conspiracies, and they're forced to try and escape the country. And our leads are Margaret Qualley, who plays Trish, and Joel Alwyn, who plays Daniel, the businessman. And then we've got we got Benny Safdie shows up as a CIA agent, and Danny Ramirez as a Costa Rican cop. And I feel like I keep seeing Danny Ramirez in a bunch of things. I saw him in No Exit recently. There was also a Tales of the Walking Dead episode I saw him in. I'm just like, where's all of a sudden this guy? You know what that happens with an actor? You see him and then you're like, you just start seeing them everywhere. They're like, are they in everything? No, I just happen to notice them.
Isn't he also, I haven't seen this yet, but isn't he also in Top Gun Maverick too?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah, I was like, this guy is just blowing up.
Yep, just making the rounds. Yeah, so we've got Trish. She's been in the country for a little while in Nicaragua. She's trapped there. Like we learned that pretty quickly. She's really down on her luck. She's got little to no money. She's barely scraping by, living on the fringes in this like dingy motel kind of almost like boarding house kind of place. And she meets Daniel, who's this businessman. They sleep together and she gets involved with him, and unfortunately for her realizes that is a mistake because the authorities are like tracking him, and then pretty much just like everybody in Nicaragua is after him, and then by proxy after her because she's associating with him. And what else, Megan? What else am I forgetting here?
People are winding up dead. Like for instance, like he gives his cell phone, which doesn't work anymore, to a cab driver, and he doesn't want to give it, but his cab driver's like, no, it'll be fine. I'll sell it. And then the cab driver winds up dead, and like a guy's car ends up being burned, and like there's a trail of bad things happening as people are hunting him and essentially her by proxy down.
Right. Yeah. And what is his deal? Like he's there to give them economic information to like help like shift the balance of power down there toward people who are not in power. Like that's the sense that I gather. Like he's kind of an agent of chaos, but like good, I'm putting this in air quotes, good chaos of like trying to like supplant the people who are in power with new people who are supposed to be like the revolutionaries or like I don't even know what the right term is, but that's my sense of why he's down there. And then, everyone else is like, no, we don't want that because we want to continue to postpone this election during a pandemic and keep everybody locked down and under our thumb.
Yeah. No, I think you got it.
Good. I'm glad I wasn't.
No, yeah.
That.
I mean, I think it's a little, it feels a little, I don't want to say vague because they do literally say what they want from him, but there's something about it that still feels a little vague. I think also the kind of shifting the time period from the novel to now, which makes sense. And I think it's cool to have like seeing so many people wearing masks in this film. It's like right away, you know, it's present day or just within the past couple of years because of COVID. But yeah, but the book from what I read is about the Nicaraguan Revolution. So it seems like that would make a little bit more sense. Like if you're on the verge of revolution, you know, but again, maybe that's why it was kept a little more vague. Or maybe it's not as vague as I thought, and I just don't remember, which is ridiculous. But that could also be.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not well versed in Central American politics, so I don't know if they had a situation where they were like postponing an election during a pandemic to kind of hold on to power or not. It seems like a possible scenario. It seems highly likely that a government could, you know, tamp down that much on their people, and especially when there's so few resources as it seems like there is in the movie. You know, she goes places and she can't get meat, or they only have chicken, or there's, you know, she only can get rum somewhere. It's like, here, you know, have this rum in place of a meal that we would normally provide, but we don't have that stuff right now.
And she can't get Coke, like she can only get Sprite. She can't get shampoo, like she's constantly looking for shampoo. She can't always use the phone or the internet. Yeah, so.
Right. Yeah, she has to bribe someone to make an internet call to John C. Reilly, who's the editor at some magazine that she wrote for, and she somehow conned him into paying her to go down there to report some story. Oh man. Yeah, and then she's just stuck down there. Her passport's like fucked. She's got like a bunch of money that she can't convert to U.S. currency to buy her way out of there. It's just, she's really trapped down there, and she's really caught between a rock and a hard place. And getting involved in this guy only makes it like a million times worse. Yeah. Oh yeah, and something else that we haven't even talked about yet, which I actually think is a really fascinating facet of the film, is that she's basically engaging in sex work in order to get money, in that she has two kind of regular clients that she's friendly with that also pay her for sex. But it's interesting because when she gets involved with Daniel, they both drop her and want like nothing to do with her, which is kind of awful, but also I guess sort of makes sense considering the circumstances, but it's still awful. Right. Yeah. I mean, they like, once they find out that she's seeing him and like people start coming to them, like officials start coming to them and asking questions, like, oh, hell no, I'm not risking my life for this. I don't blame them on that. But yeah, it's just all of a sudden she has literally no one. And, you know, before she had this guy who was like seemingly like middle to high ranking official in the government who was at least looking out for her. Or this soldier who had like basically written her a letter that was kind of like a letter of protection almost that she was using to kind of like stay down there as like her, almost like in place of her passport. Cause like he had her passport, right? He gives it back to her toward the end. He does. So Megan, what did you think of this movie? So I have some issues. So I was excited to see this because I love Claire Denis' film High Life, and I need to see more of her films because I really like the way that she is focused in her films on bodies. Like I find that seems to be a theme throughout her work, which I think is really interesting. And bodies are definitely front and center here too. And there's a lot of sex. Yeah. A lot of nudity. A lot of sex and nudity. I wish I actually found it interesting, or like there was some chemistry, because I found zero chemistry between Margaret Qualley and Joe Elwyn. No, it just didn't work for me at all. Their romance, their connection, chemistry, zippo for me, nothing. But wait, quick question on that. Yes. Because I'm thinking of it now. More or less chemistry than Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck in Deepwater or Darkwater, or whatever the movie was called. Deepwater. They have more chemistry because, I mean, I think a rock... And I think like two rocks just sitting next to each other. Actually, that reminds me of Everything Everywhere All at Once now. But I think two rocks sitting next to each other would have more chemistry than Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. Like that. Whoo, boy. They had nothing. So yeah, I mean, these two at least seemed like they were not strangers, but they at least seemed like they'd been in the same room together before. Right. But and so
I had issues with that. What I did really like, though, and again, this is not a surprise to me, just from what I've read of Claire Denis' work and what I know are the premises of her films and some of the themes that she's dealing with. I know she deals a lot with colonialism. And I like that we get touches of that. Like there's a conversation between Daniel and the cab driver where the cab driver's talking about like, oh, this place is protected for people like you. But, you know, for me and other people living here, you know, we're screwed. And so I like those touches, and I like that we see what's going on in the landscape, like as far as the resources and the lack of resources and how awful it is. And if it's difficult for her as, you know, a white girl who's an American, displaced essentially and can't leave, if it's difficult for her, I mean, I'm sure it's difficult for the people living there who are from there. So I like those kinds of touches that are imbued in the film. And I kind of like it's exploring those social issues. But yeah, and you know, the pacing, it is super, 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 super slow. And part of me is like, part of me found that torturous, but part of me is like, ooh, are we supposed to feel that way because we're supposed to feel trapped the way Trish is trapped? Maybe, but I kind of feel like if you are doing a film where there's supposed to be like you're on the run and the authorities are coming after you, shouldn't there be some palpable tension? And I didn't feel any. So to sum up, there were elements I liked. I liked the social commentary happening, but I did not like the lack of chemistry and the very slow pacing.
It's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned the pacing because I described this movie yesterday after watching it as low octane thrills. Like it's a movie that's got its foot on the gas, but just barely on the gas for like most of the movie. So like you said, there's like a lot of good political intrigue and a lot of like really fascinating dynamics going on within like the government and the people, these foreigners that are existing and have an element of privilege, but then also like once they're persona non grata, like everyone's after them and like they're in such dangerous ground and such like precarious territory, but it's so slowly paced. It's so slow, and that makes it hard to engage with a movie that I feel like could be a lot more exciting if some of these elements were played up for dramatic intent. But it's a weird romance too. Like it's like an erotic romancy kind of movie because we're supposed to believe, you know, that these people fall in together and there's a loyalty, even though like, you know, Trish is given several chances to like sell him out to like get her passport and get the fuck out of there.
Yep.
And she does eventually, but I feel like, you know, she could have just cut and run so much sooner than that. And it seems like even before that, she was kind of more opportunistic in that way that if she did have a way that she could have gotten out of there sooner, she would have sold out the like military guy that she was sleeping with. She would have been like, fuck that guy. He sucks. I'm just like, I'm bored with sex with him. That was such a different sex scene. It's like he's fucking her and she's like so bored. She's like looking at the wall and then like she sleeps with this guy the first time and it's like she's actually enjoying it so much more.
I do like that. That's a great shift, and I like the very first sex scene between her and the soldier guy. He's like, "You're not purring," and I'm like, "Purring," and she's like, "Are you coming? Are you coming? Come on!"
Yeah, hurry it up.
She's like exasperated. Yeah. It's really funny, actually, in a weird way. But yeah, it's very clear that she's enjoying herself with Daniel. I just wish I was enjoying watching because. Clearly she is, but I'm not feeling what they're feeling. But yeah. You know, when you're talking about the low octane thrills and the foot on the gas, this is such a nerdy thing, but all I could think about was the Tomorrowland Speedway at Magic Kingdom where the little cars and you have like your foot like slammed on the gas and it's like just
like puttering along. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, come on, I want to go. And you don't go fast anywhere.
No, this movie does not go fast. I don't think it needs to be 2 hours and 18 minutes. I feel like this movie could be so much shorter, and I probably would have liked it. Like, it probably, if I was like on a rating on a star system, it would like gain another star if it's shaved off like a half hour.
I think it could have shaved off a half hour easily. I think it could have shaved off an hour, actually. No, maybe not an hour, but definitely like 45 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
A lot of just like dead space.
Yeah. And like I said, and I like dead space because a lot of times there's things happening, when quote, nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. Not here. Not here. No. I got the vibe. I got what's going on. I got the characters. Let's get a move on.
Yeah. I did like when Benny Safdie showed up, though. I enjoyed his character as the CIA agent who's like talking to her in code, and like it's like all he literally does is just talk in code. But even when he's talking to Daniel too, he's like he's sitting there talking to the two of them in code. I didn't love the content of what he was saying. Like, I feel like there could have been more clever like ways of for him to say the things he was saying, but I was enjoying him on screen playing this like aloof kind of character who both has to come off as like the dumb American tourist, but then also the like really smart CIA, like mid-level CIA guy who knows how to get things done down there. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed him popping up in this, and I enjoyed his performance. And I felt like once he showed up, I was enjoying the movie a little bit more because he was just there and being a kind of antagonist to these characters.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a change of pace.
Yes, much needed.
Much needed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I liked that scene where she was trying to trade out her Cordovas to the coyote, and he like brings her in. Yes. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna need your passport," and she's like, "No, I can't do that. Come on, you're a coyote." And he's like, "Hey, look, I have scruples, man. Like this money came from the black market. I'm not taking it. Get the hell out of here." Yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoy when someone who's like, operating in, a life of crime is like, you know what, that's too rich for my blood. I'm not going to get involved in that. I don't need people asking any more questions about me.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like when someone's immersed in criminal activities when they have a moral code too, in addition. They're like, I'm not doing that either because it's going to screw me over or because of my moral code.
Yeah. What did you think about him ultimately being sold out at the end? Do you feel like you were just kind of like,
yikes?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, because I know we're criticizing the film for its very lengthy runtime and its very slow pacing. Mm-hmm. I will say, one of the good things about that is that ending feels earned, because if it had happened right away, it would have been like, well, she's an ass. I mean, like, it's understandable, right, but she's an asshole, and I don't think their bond would have been even remotely believable then. Although I guess you could just argue that she wants to get the hell out. But I think the fact that they keep sort of trying to protect each other as best they can, considering neither of them really has the ability to really do so, but at least they can stick together. Like, that's kind of the one thing they can do. And they keep doing it over and over. It makes it that much more tragic that,
right.
So that ending, like the fact that the camera stays on her for a little bit is, it's sad. So but I think it's a well-earned ending. What about you?
I agree with you. I think because the movie gives more time to develop their relationship and to show that kind of back and forth where they are genuinely struggling to stick to their guns on this and to protect each other. And then they just, she realizes how futile it is. Like when they end up getting caught by all those soldiers, it's like she sees the other guy in the room and knows that guy is going to report them. And so she's like, just like, hold me tight, cover me. And then, it's like they wake up the next day and those soldiers are already there to like greet them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I feel like that was the moment where she was like, all right, I'm giving up. We're just done here. Like, one last cuddle for the road.
One last cuddle. Hey, sometimes you need that one last cuddle.
Yeah. Well.
I realized we haven't shared what Dave thought about either of these movies.
Oh, shit. You're right.
I just realized that. Well, listeners, let me pull up what Dave said. So Dave had mixed feelings about Do Revenge, and he had mostly positive feelings about Stars at Noon. So there we go. That's where Dave comes in on this.
He does love a long movie where nothing happens, but I wouldn't say nothing happens in this movie. No, stuff does happen. It just happens very slowly.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, and I think it's intentional. Like, I think you're supposed to feel what they're feeling. But again, at the same time, I think there needs to be more of a sense of urgency, especially in certain scenes. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, anything else you wanted to talk about this movie?
No, I think we covered everything. What about you?
Yeah. I think I'm haunted by that guy with the cell phone jammed in his mouth who was murdered. That
visual is horrifying.
Yeah, that was haunting. I mean, so was the burning truck. The guy that she was going to buy the truck from, and then like she comes out the next morning and people like tipped over and are burning it, and this poor guy has like lost his truck and has like no money.
Oh, it's so sad. I felt so bad for that guy. By the way, I feel like that guy was doing tremendous acting because most of what we're seeing is him from his back, and you feel the weight of his pain. So yeah, kudos to that guy. He was doing a great job.
Oh, for sure. And also kudos to the hotel for their COVID safety. When she gets there and she has to like walk to the temperature scanner machine, I'm like, people are always like trashing these like South and Central American countries, being like, oh, well, look at them. You know, like they're like crappy countries. And I'm like, they have a fucking temperature scanner device. I'm like, we don't have those. People don't do that shit here.
Nope. People say shitty shit about other countries because they're racist and xenophobic.
Oh, of course.
I mean, like, that's kind of like stating the obvious.
Right. Yeah, of course. But it was just like, I saw that in the beginning and I was like, well, that's a really cool thing at that hotel that they're doing.
I know. That was exciting to see. I was like, why don't we have those? I want those here.
Yeah, we should have those. And then, of course, I just thought it was kind of, par for the course that you have the American with like a very questionable mask etiquette. It's like she's walking around so many places, like taking her mask off, and like everyone else around her, like hotel employees, soldiers, like everyone's got to wear their mask. And she's like, do, I'll just take mine down. I'll just not wear mine. Blah, 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 blah.
I know. It's funny that you say that because I thought about that and I was like, ooh, is it that? Or is it so we can see her face? Like I was like, or is it both? But what's funny is even if that wasn't intentional, like even if it was just like, oh, we want to see your face, so take the mask off when you go into the bar or whatever, it worked. It works really well on that level of like jerk Americans not adhering to,
right.
conduct of being in a crowd.
Right. Well, and then there was the moment too where Daniel gets in with like the cab driver, the guy who he gives the phone to, and like they're both wearing their masks, and like they start talking or something, and they like for some reason over the course of that conversation they're like, okay, you're cool, and then they both just take their masks off to start talking to each other. It's like, okay,
ridiculous.
So it's fun on that level too. The movie's fun from like seeing the COVID perspective of seeing people in a pandemic and seeing how other countries handle a pandemic.
Yeah. I do like that about this film, that there are a lot of good small moments that are very, very telling about COVID, but also in other ways too.
Yeah, but also just about other ways of life in other countries and how people handle things. So, yeah, some low octane thrills in this one, but it weirdly held my attention despite being slow. Like, it was like an arduous journey because it was so damn slow, but I was still interested to see where it was going. So I feel like the movie succeeded on that level. Like, it held my attention. I wanted to see how it ended. And it felt earned in its ending.
It does feel earned, and I say this a lot. Endings are hard. It's hard to stick the landing and endings, and this one does feel earned. So
yeah, I think we talked about that recently. We were talking about Hitchcock on a Patreon where we were saying just like Hitchcock Man, he knows how to not do. It's like he can make a great movie, but he does not know how to end movies.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. His endings are just boy bad.
So let's do a recap. So Do Revenge is currently streaming on Netflix. See it or don't see it?
I would say
sounds like a meh to me.
Yeah, it's a lukewarm C. I kind of like that it's an homage to 90s teen comedies, although you might want to just watch 90s teen comedies instead. But yeah, I'll give it a lukewarm C it.
I'm a warmer C on it. I think I enjoyed it more, so I would definitely say see it. It's also short too. I think it's like an hour and a half. I don't remember it being a major investment of time either.
No, it's like almost 2 hours, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 55 minutes.
Do Revenge was an hour and 55 minutes?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now I'm like in disbelief.
Or maybe like an hour and 50 with the credits, but yeah.
You're right. Oh my God, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, I retract my statement then.
But wait a minute. But the fact that it felt only like an hour and a half for you, that should show how quick it moves. The movie hustles. It does. So there's that.
Yes. And then there's Stars at Noon, which does not hustle. It takes its sweet ass time.
Yeah.
Where do you land on that one?
So this is funny. This is another one that the more we talk about it, the more I liked it. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, this is a very lukewarm see it because there are great things happening here, like the socio-political elements, the social commentary, the infusion of things, the little small moments. Yeah, and it is kind of interesting to see where it goes and the ending, as we keep talking about it being earned. Yeah, so there are problems with the film, but there's also some interesting things happening too. So yeah, so I would give it a tepid see it. Maybe wait. You don't need to rush out and see it right away, but you can wait when it comes to Hulu.
Yeah. And I would say on this one, I'm a luker. just left of tepid. Because there was good stuff here, but my God, was this slow. And if you're the kind of person that can't deal with slow movies, this is just not for you.
Yeah,
not for you.
Your mileage will definitely vary on this.
Awesome. Okay. So then that wraps it up for another week of Spoiler Piece Theater. We want to say a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, thank you for making us sound great week after week. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find us anywhere you can get podcasts, but you can also find us at our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. We are all over social media, Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. And if you want to get in touch with us, you want to tell us how much you enjoyed Do Revenge, despite its ungrammatical nature, or tell us that you thought it was crap. Or if you want to tell us how much you didn't mind Stars at Noon, slow pace and length. Love to hear that too. Any of that good stuff. We just love talking about movies, and so feel free to reach out to us. You can email us. We're spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
You can leave us a voicemail. You can shoot us a text, all that good stuff. We love to hear from you. And if you like the show, please rate and review us. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, and that will take you to your platform of choice. Helps more people find the show, gives us some podcast street cred, and so we really appreciate all those ratings. And if you really, really like the show, consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, this week in our exclusive audio, we're talking about a patron's choice, the 1990 film Dick Tracy. $5 a month, you get access to exclusive episodes, like this week's episode. There's a back catalog of 200 plus bonus episodes where we talk about older films, other bonus coverage of things. We do some Sundance, some like extra Sundance coverage in some of those episodes. And you also get to vote in polls. We have another poll coming up. We don't know what it is yet, but you'll see it soon, I'm sure. We also have merch. This is not connected to Patreon, but you can also check out our merch. We have a TeePublic store. So if your Patreon's not your thing, you can also support the show in that way. Then if you go to spoilerpiece.com, there's a merch tab, or you can go to TeePublic and search for us, since there's lots of good stuff you can get to support the show. And so we want to say thank you to all of our patrons and supporters, and thank you to you listeners for tuning in. My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. And you can follow me on Twitter at OpinionS World or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.